Hey sis, do you remember that one time when I shared with you in Dear Sis, I Need Your Advice that a decade ago, one Wednesday evening, I took off the diamonds on my finger, placed them on the table, and then said, "You need to be gone by Friday." I looked at my ex-husband with a feeling of pity, regret, and certainty that I wanted him gone. This was one cold winter's night. Then I wondered how much I could pawn my rings for. He was a narcissist. When did I understand who he was? After I divorced him. I had no idea what a narcissistic person was, let alone that there were different types. That's not what I'm focusing on today. It's not about me. It's about you and other women in the black community. The case of Romecka Meeks, the 31-year-old black woman who I wrote about in Daily Notes for Black Women number 34. And if you're catching this on Substack, it will be linked into the written article. If you are listening in on YouTube, I will put all the links in the description box. This lady who lost her life due to the actions of her child's father this week pushed me to try to help as many black women understand when they are dealing with a narcissistic man or experiencing narcissistic behaviours from him. There's this theory I've had for a while now, many years to be exact. I've been of the belief that there are many narcissistic men out there, married, booed up, single, dating, cheating, whatever. And there's more men than us women would imagine or even want to imagine with narcissistic traits. That said, if I were to keep it 100 with you, I believe that in the black community, it's more highly likely that a woman will bump into a narcissistic man, purely because of the dynamics between black men and women in the community. Hear me out. If we look at the case of Romecka Meeks as just one example, she lost her life via triangulation. After leaving her child's father, then he went on to pit another woman against her, which was his other child's mother. The result was Romecka, who is absolutely stunning, by the way, when I saw the picture of her. Well, both women are stunning. She ended up losing her life at the hands of the woman her child's father pit against her. In this week's Daily Notes for Black Women, I made reference to the possibility that Romecka may have benefited from someone, possibly another black woman, helping her to understand that it's time to take a rest from this man. I was wrong. As details of this case unfold, and I've been locked in on social media for updates, at the time of me writing this, it appears that Romecka had done everything she could to stay away from him. It was her child's father who continued to stalk and pursue her, even though he had a child with another woman. Based on these facts, it appears that it's the other woman who took Romecka's life who needed the guidance to help her understand that she was being triangulated, something that narcissists often do. She was being used as a pawn by a man who was possibly a narcissist. So why is this key? Romecka's case is so common in the black community. Women are triangulated by men with other women all the time, even when they're not narcissists. And in these cases, as the statistics show, they continue to create high numbers of broken homes and leave women as single mothers, yet still go back and forth between women and have them on rotation. In the case of an actual narcissist, they use triangulation between women due to their narcissistic needs and desire for control. Usually, it's not control over both women. Usually, it's the woman who has no interest in him, like Romecka, like myself. This is because the woman who rejects the narcissist causes what's often referred to as narcissist's injury. In other words, their ego is crushed by the rejection and the lack of control. They try to triangulate the one that got away, even when the woman does not want them, like Romecka, like myself. If that's not happening, men triangulate us black women with other races of women. So this would be non-black women. When they say things like, oh, white women or Asian women or whoever are better because of X, Y, and Z, this is why I don't date black women. They say these things like black women even care like that about how they feel. That said, the result is that both groups of women who want to be chosen, in quotation mark, by the man, end up fighting over the man who probably shouldn't even have access to either of them. The second reason I believe narcissism is high in the black community is because of the rise of the manosphere, red pill, black pill, whatever you want to call it, and that failed fuck around and find out passport bros movement, which has led, sadly, to black men sometimes losing their lives in foreign countries. These movements created by men are centered on the ideology that their needs, their wants, and so forth are more important than a woman's. And they believe in a hierarchy in society where women are at the bottom. This is how a narcissistic person thinks. They have an inflated idea of their own importance, often with no merit to why they should even be that important. Just like these men's movements, which have an inflated idea of their own self-importance. The third reason narcissism is high in the community is because black men are trying desperately and very badly to convince women that they are the prize via their manosphere, red pill, black pill, whatever narratives. We even see famous black men say things like this. For example, we saw Simone Biles's husband who made it clear, to use his words, and that he was the prize. So for anyone who is catching this on Substack, the video of his clip and what he actually said is in the written article. If you are on YouTube, I will link it in the description box for you. Sadly, many women who are often referred to as pick-me women are silly enough to believe that men are some kind of prize. So narcissism, what every black woman should know. During what feels like our never-ending healing journey as black women, we often talk about protecting our peace, setting boundaries, and unlearning harmful patterns. Pick-meism, as they call it, is a behaviour in black women, as shown by the lady who shot Romecka. This is one of the behaviours that we need to unlearn, along with coddling black men. In addition to this, the one thing that as many black women around the diaspora as possible need to understand in order to help with our healing is the different faces of narcissism. Narcissism is not exclusive to black men, of course, but I do believe and would argue very strongly, using cases of celebrity men in the black community and the talking points of the black manosphere that influence the average black man, that narcissism is highly likely to show up in black men, no matter what this black man's nationality is. This is due to the black culture and pressure placed on black women to advocate for them, protect them, be loyal to them, or see them as the greatest thing since sliced bread, when a man may have done absolutely nothing to earn that title, or they're broke and they're in a worse position than the black woman that they want admiration from. This environment is the perfect breeding ground for narcissistic men. So the fundamentals of narcissism in men. To capture what a person is like as a narcissist, and my focus is on XY men, it boils down to these main behaviours and or belief systems that this man holds. Self-centeredness and an excessive need for admiration, jealousy and or envy over others or even toward their female partner, a sense of superiority and or automatic entitlement, manipulative behaviour, using someone else to meet their needs, and a lack of empathy. Now, on the surface of it, you may not notice this about a narcissist. They may even seem confident, charming, magnetic, all this wonderful stuff at first. What's key to understand, and what they don't want you to understand, is that a narcissist has a deep-seated, fragile sense of self-worth, self-love, and ego. The way they hide this is to feed off a source, which I'll put in quotation mark. That would be you and how you react to the mask that they actually wear. It's like for a narcissist to survive, they need a host. They need validation, they crave attention, and to feel good. And that is what their source, that would be you, provides them with. However, they can and only obtain this by access to the source. And they do this via the 5 behaviours that I mentioned earlier, which women can mistake or overlook for something else, or even justify their behaviours with other external things, as my younger self did. Lastly, they struggle with empathy, and that's why they can never see your point of view, or they often dismiss it. So what does this mean for Black women? For Black women, due to the community dynamics mentioned earlier, we are socialised, you could say, or encouraged or even gaslit into the idea that it's our role to nurture everyone around us. Narcissistic men can be especially dangerous for us because of this. Things like overgiving, being ride or die, sacrificing our own well-being to keep the peace, coddling men, believing they're the prize, giving them the submission that they want, that they often talk about in the manosphere, with no real reason to give that to them, seeing them as leaders and kings, as they like to call themselves, when they may not have been able to demonstrate any king or leadership qualities as an individual man, making ourselves smaller to make them feel bigger or even better. And this is something that I discussed in one of my previous essays called Why Don't They Like Educated Black Women? If you are catching this on Substack, it will be linked directly into the written article. If you are on YouTube, I will link the video in the description box. The different types of narcissists. Not all narcissists look or act the same. Sis, remember this. Some are loud and obvious, while others are quiet and manipulative, like my ex-husband was. Psychologists usually identify them in 5 main ways, or they categorize them into 5 main types. So firstly, we have the grandiose or overt narcissist. The classic big personality narcissist. He's bold, confident, attention-seeking. He wants to be admired, and often he may flaunt his successes. You may have met this type of person in the workplace. So the colleague who constantly takes credit for group projects. In a romantic context, this is the man who sweeps you off your feet, love bombs you, and then turns cold once the attention is no longer on him or he has got what he wants. For Black women, these men at first can initially feel exciting and make you feel chosen in quotation marks, especially for women who tend to have these pick-me mentalities while they're dating. Over time, they can become dismissive, arrogant, entitled, leaving you emotionally drained and confused. Women often enter the cat and mouse chasing game with these types of men, not really knowing exactly what kind of man they're dealing with. While you chase, he's off to the new supply. The second type of narcissist is the vulnerable or the covert narcissist, sometimes they call them. So these are the real chameleons because these men may seem quiet, sensitive, or introverted. They don't appear to have the arrogance and big personality of the grandiose or overt type. They seek their constant reassurance and admiration differently to the first type. They often play the victim. They make you see them as being helpless or in desperation, or they may even guilt trip you into giving them what they want. In relationships, this type might sulk or withdraw affection when they don't get things or when it doesn't go their way, which forces you then to chase them emotionally. The third type, the malignant narcissist. These men are one of the most harmful and dangerous types of men and narcissists, as they gain enjoyment out of their behaviours. It's more about his actions with this one, which are often manipulative, cruel, and even sometimes abusive. And you may not be aware of it as his partner, but deep down, it's a source of pleasure. He does things that he knows will hurt you. You know, he consciously knows this, and he does it just for the sake of it, to maintain emotional control. If you've ever been in a relationship where you felt gaslit, emotionally broken down, or fearful of someone's reactions, you might have encountered this type of man. For Black women, again, who already face social devaluation in all directions, being connected to a malignant narcissist can lead to a deep erosion of self-worth. It's my belief that this is the type of men we find in spaces like the Black section of the manosphere and Black male celebrities such as Fresh and Fit, Kevin Samuels, 50 Cent, Chris Brown, Chris Rock, Attell, the list goes on. And I believe this due to their devaluing so openly for the world to see, mind you, of Black women, their features and the triangulation that they place us in with either other black women, but especially non-black women. The fourth type, the communal narcissist. Now, this type of man gains his sense of superiority through being seen as a charitable person or the Good Samaritan. He might be the person who always brags about how much he does for others. However, he becomes quite hostile or mean or even resentful behind closed doors if they're not praised for it or admired in some way for being the Good Samaritan. Now, the fifth type are the somatic and cerebral narcissists. These are subtypes or subcategories, you could say, based on what the narcissist values about themselves. The somatic narcissists, they obsess or value their looks, their body, their sexuality. It's all about the physical for them. With the cerebral narcissists, they pride themselves on being the smartest, the most intelligent, or the most enlightened person that there is in the room. All about, mental thoughts and intelligence for them. Keep this in mind. When it comes to the world of dating, it's important to remember that a man can have narcissistic traits or behaviour, or he can be a full-blown clinically diagnosed narcissist. This is as narcissism is a personality disorder, and under the DSM-5 document, which if you are catching this on Substack, I have directly linked this in for you in the article. If you are on YouTube, I will put the link to it in the description box. The DSM-5 document is what a psychologist would use to diagnose all kinds of personality disorders, including narcissism. In the DSM-5 document, there are indicators that they use to confirm that a person is a narcissist and not just showing traits in their behaviour. That said, whether a man shows traits or he actually is a full-blown diagnosed narcissist is neither here nor there. The ability to show these traits indicate that this is a man that should be avoided. So how can you test or tell if someone or a man or whoever is a narcissist? There are two ways you can test if someone you know or your partner is showing narcissistic behaviour and or potentially a fully blown narcissist. Firstly, answer the questions in this online confidential questionnaire, which has been put out by a very reputable source, Psychology Today. Now, if you're catching this on Substack, it's linked directly in the article. If you're on YouTube, I will put it in the description box for you. It will give you a score of how likely the person is a narcissist. Here's something funny. I did the test just before I finished writing this essay. A decade later, my memory over his behaviour, my ex-husband, did not fail me. My first husband's behaviour came out with a score of very likely, almost 100% a narcissist. The second thing you can do is look up the common behaviours and traits in the DSM-5 document. I've linked it in the direct article on Substack. If you're on YouTube, it will be in the description box. As I mentioned, this document psychologists use, which can be accessed free and for the public online. It's not a secret or hidden document. I believe it's page 645, if my memory is correct. This is where they discuss personality disorders, which is what narcissism is, and where they discuss narcissistic personality disorder. In my next essay, I will be highlighting real-life case studies of male behaviours we've seen online to help Black women spot, identify, understand, and name a narcissistic man that she may come across before she gets involved with him, or allows him to triangulate her with another woman for his own narcissistic behaviour, depending on the type of narcissist that he is. So that's it for today. Thank you for staying with me this far. If you've reached here, I will catch you in the next one. Much love, the Black Woman Essayist.